All right, let's talk about some Andy Wallace bass techniques. First, let's listen to the bass track that we were given for this 5-pass. I would bet my kingdom that that is a Sanzan bass driver or similar type of direct pedal. And it's not bad for this type of music. It's really not bad at all. I wish there was a clean DI as well, but you can always get what you want. So here's where we're gonna have some fun with it. Again, SSL, E-channel version 2. I am filtering all the bottom out of this. Compressing it a little bit, but about 4:1 there. Getting what? Just tapping 6 dBs of compression. I'm boosting a lot of 900 Hertz, and I'm cutting a bit of mud. What's that, about 250, 260? Yeah. But I've got the filter up to 160 here, which might seem strange for a bass track, but here's why. All the bottoms over here. So we've copied the bass track. As you can see, Andy Wallace, he used to do this on the SSL with mults. You would mult, if you had one bass on the tape machine, you would go into the patch bay, and generally a mult would give you like 3 or 4 copies, of whatever you plugged into it. So you take the output of the tape track into the mult and then put it up on as many channels as you want of your console. So on this, I'm doing some pretty drastic low-pass filtering with the ProTools EQ3, only because you actually can't go that high or that low on the low pass on the SSL. So I'm doing that on there, but then what I am doing here is I have found the fundamental of the song. The song is in C sharp. The fundamental of C sharp is 35 Hertz. So I come down here, switch this band to bell, and cranked 15 dB of 35 Hertz. The other trick is that I switched the dynamics to channel out, which puts the compression after the EQ. So now all of that EQing is getting pushed into the compressor. So I'm able to compress all that low frequency energy. I've got a little longer release than normal on here. Threshold doesn't have to be that high because it's just not necessary with all that sort of steady low frequency energy coming in. And a low ratio, a high ratio would probably not, first of all, wouldn't be necessary. And the 2:1's given us all we need for consistency in those sub-regions. And I thought it sounded better with the phase flip there. And now for something completely different. This is the real unique trick that Andy does to bass tracks in most of his mixes. This is a free plugin from Valhalla called the Space Modulator, so you should all go download it right now if you don't have it already. And what this does is it does a killer job of nailing the old Yamaha SPX Symphonic preset, which is an Andy Wallace favorite for bass. And if you listen, you might have to put on headphones to really hear this. But I'm getting just a slight left to right swirl between the rate and the depth, 100% mix. And I've also got the left and right pan pots kind of towards the inside, because I don't want, if you throw on headphones and hear that, that's going to be way too wide, so I want it somewhere around there. And the trick with this is you only send it enough. If it starts to sound like an obvious effect, you're sending too much to it. So I've got about -14 here. If I put it up, now it starts to sound like an actual flanger or slow chorus. So you want to sort of find the point where it starts to sound like an obvious effect and then back it off from there. because this is more of a psychoacoustic thing. Like we mentioned in our drum reverb video, it's the idea of keeping the bass slightly moving the entire time, so it's not just dead mono for the whole song, because your brain starts to tune that out. So by having a little bit of left to right variance, it sort of keeps you subliminally engaged in it a little more, and just adds to a more lively mix. But again, Andy was the king of subtleties that keep the listener engaged without distracting from the song. And I think his bass techniques are a great example of that. And then of course you could play with these levels. I found that frequency, that 900 hertz boost, by just listening to the bass in the context of the song, and just, you know, I probably cranked this up to plus 15 and did one of these. And I found the frequency where it sat the best. And I found the level of it, I think it was about 8 dB we were at. It made the bass present without being too much. Why don't we just listen to it all for a second. So you can see how I came upon that frequency just by kind of like scanning through with the full track playing. And I'll probably have to talk about some of those guitar tricks in an upcoming video as well. There's a lot of fun stuff going on there. So that's the Andy Wallace bass stuff. I really like having them on separate faders, the main and the sub separate. You could ride the main bass throughout the song and kind of push and pull it here and there, you know, so it's not fighting with vocals or guitars or anything, while the sub keeps the low frequencies consistent throughout. I know a lot of people use things like the old DBX subharmonic synth or the PV Cosmos, and probably a dozen plugins that do the same thing now. I actually prefer this way, because some of those other things, while they can sound cool in small doses, they can almost sound like an octave down pedal happening, especially when you play something up high on bass. This doesn't really have that same effect. It's just the low frequency of the track itself, which I find way more useful in a mix. I hope you found this helpful. If you did, please like, subscribe, comment, all that fun stuff, and I'll be back with more soon.